Okay, just to lead into this video a little bit, had a real strong vision the other night of a scene from the original 1931 version of Frankenstein. Frankenstein being one of my favorite novels, but I couldn't shake the image of Boris Karloff and the actress. Let me go check her name real quick. I believe let's see what her name was. The director, the cast, Clarke. Clarke was the actress. Boris Karloff as the monster and Clarke as the bride of Henry Frankenstein. The name changed for the original film from Victor to Henry. Victor Clerval in the film and Henry Frankenstein in the film, as opposed to Henry Clerval and Victor Frankenstein in the original 1816 novel by Mary Shelley. I couldn't shake the image of Boris Karloff bent over as the monster, getting ready to abscond with Clarke, Elizabeth Lavenza, the name of the character in the novel, on her wedding night. And he promised Frankenstein that I will be with you on your wedding night. So, and that image was real strong, so I got up and I watched the movie on archive.org in Spanish. I'm sure you could find it some other video streaming site in English, but I just didn't take the time and was wondering why I should have such a strong image. I went to the library today and found an odd little brochure called Frankenfacts with some interesting pictures, including one picture of Mary Shelley I have never seen before. And there's all kinds of interesting little factoids. It's just a fold-over brochure almost like you'd find in a doctor's office. And there's also a 1831 a engraving or picture illustration from an 1831 edition of Frankenstein reprinted in this brochure. So this was a nice little brochure. I got a couple of them. And I thought that what I would do is take the risk of being, sued here, buddy, for some serious copyright infringement, and go ahead and read you this brochure and scan in some of these images for you to see along with some others. So this is Frankenfacts. Okay. And it begins with this. How can I describe my emotions at this catastrophe, or how delineate the wretch whom with such infinite pains and care I had endeavored to form? His limbs were in proportion, and I had selected his features as beautiful. Beautiful! Great God! His yellow skin scarcely covered the work of muscles and arteries beneath. His hair was of a lustrous black and flowing, his teeth of a pearly whiteness, but these luxuriances only formed a more horrid contrast with his watery eyes, that seemed almost of the same color as the dun-white sockets in which they were set, his shriveled complexion, and straight black lips. Credited to Victor Frankenstein, from the original novel by Mary Shelley. Frankenfacts goes on to say, when Frankenstein came out in 1818, many critics bashed it. What a tissue of horrible and disgusting absurdity this work presents, John Crocker of the Quarterly Review wrote. But Gothic novels were all the rage, and Frankenstein soon gained readers. Frankenstein was first published anonymously. It was dedicated to William Godwin, Mary's father, and Percy Shelley wrote the preface. Because of these connections, many assumed that Shelley was the author. This myth continued even after Frankenstein was reprinted in Mary's name. The first motion picture adaptation of Frankenstein was made in 1910. Thomas Edison Studios produced the film loosely based on the novel. Science fiction author Isaac Asimov coined the term Frankenstein complex for the fear of robots. Mary said she made up the name Frankenstein. However, Frankenstein is a German name that means stone of the Franks. What's more, historian Radu Florescu claimed that the Shelleys visited Castle Frankenstein on a journey up the Rhine River. The earliest recorded image of the monster from the 1831 edition of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein shows him reclining, it seems, while Frankenstein is opening a door. He's reclining on what appears to be a skeleton. And there's a book opened at his hand. And who we take is Frankenstein is opening up the door in the darkness. And there's a stained glass window in the background, as you can see. Frankenstein's monster is given no name in the book, but referred to only as creature, monster, fiend, wretch, vile insect, demon, being, or it. Now, according to this brochure, there are 5 reasons to read Frankenstein. The story has been recreated and reinterpreted many times in film, so we think we know the story, but the actual novel is philosophical and tragic. Despite the slow beginning, it is a great, quick read. Mary Shelley was a master of suspense, making the story a gripping page-turner. The monster and his creator, Dr. Victor Frankenstein, are complex. The reader feels both repulsed by and yet compassionate towards both. The monster is often portrayed as a dumb creature bereft of independent thinking and intelligence. It is actually an intelligent being. In fact, when you read Frankenstein, you'll see the creature in a different light. If you think Frankenstein is solely about the conflict between a monster and its creator, then you will be surprised. Shelley gives incredible depth to her characters. You'll be able to unveil all the subliminal messages found in Frankenstein and understand why it ranks among the best books of all time. Frankenstein, or The Modern Prometheus, was published in 1818. The book, by 21-year-old Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley, is frequently called the world's first science fiction novel. In Shelley's tale, a scientist animates a creature constructed from corpses. The gentle, intellectually gifted creature is enormous and physically hideous. Cruelly rejected by its creator, it seeks companionship and becomes increasingly brutal as it fails to find a mate. Mary Shelley created the story on a rainy afternoon in 1816, the haunted summer, in Geneva, where she was staying with her husband, the poet Percy Bysshe Shelley, and their friend, the scandalous Lord Byron. Byron proposed they each write a Gothic ghost story, but only Mary Shelley completed hers. Although serving as the basis for the Western horror story, the book Frankenstein is much more than pop fiction. The story explores philosophical themes and challenges romantic ideals about the beauty and goodness of nature. And that ends a little brochure I found at the public library with no credited authorship. The American Library Association, maybe? I have no idea. Somebody that works there? Who knows? Okay. Well, so that sort of was interesting in light of the strange, persistent vision from Frankenstein that we had just the night before. And so we thought, after finding that wonderful little fun fact-filled pamphlet, we would read it to you. Also, this is reminding the listener that we do publish and sell our own edition of Frankenstein, and the link to purchase that particular edition is in the comments section of this video, so help us out if you can. Buy one of our fine paperback editions of Frankenstein and read an immortal Gothic classic that will leave you thrilled and astounded in ways you had never thought possible. The story is much more than what's been recorded in film, music, and radio adaptations over the century. So, thank you, and if you could, please subscribe. If you would like to help us out by donating via PayPal, you can do so at www.paypal.me/extremevolumepop. And you could give $1 or $2 if you like. Subscribe to our channel. YouTube is nixing monetization, of course, for small fry YouTube video developers such as myself. And so that's not, a happening deal. But if I can hit, 1,000 subscribers and the requisite amount of watch hours, I could possibly get it back again someday. So we're always hopeful. Where there's life, there's hope. But of course, if there is no life, maybe you could stitch a body together out of decaying body parts and reanimate it, so to speak. But anyway, thank you very much, and you have a pleasant good evening. Good evening. Bye-bye.